Hello. This is Jonathan again for both Legacy Coaching and the Chiro Mentor. And in this video, I want to drop one of the key concepts that seems to come up in so many of the coaching and mentoring sessions that I have with people. It's been a pivotal thing in my life of recognition. And I suspect that as you look at this, there'll be things that you can grab out of this that are really, really beneficial. Let's have a look at the page here. And there's two key areas that I want to talk about. And let's just dump them down and then we can unpack them. The first one is this concept of judgment. Okay, I talk about in the coaching journey, if you've sat in any of the stuff that I do, I talk about the seat of self-judgment. And the other seat over here, the seat of compassion. So the seat of self-judgment and the seat of compassion. And here's the thing. It's very, very easy to not recognize that there are two places that you could dwell. You could sit comfortably in the seat of self-judgment, or you could sit comfortably in the seat of self-compassion. Let me rephrase that. Maybe you don't sit comfortably in the seat of self-compassion. I know for years I didn't. Again, a lot of the people that I coach and mentor, this concept of compassion for self is absent, or it's foreign, or it's even offensive for some. If we look at these as being two seats, two places that you can camp your life, when it comes to this judgment place, I often refer to it as the well-worn seat of self-judgment. Well-worn, why? It's the place that we dwell so often. We sit in the seat of self-judgment. Our culture tells us that that's healthy, especially if you're like me, you're in Australia where we have this tall poppy thing. Nobody wants to get too big and proud and anything like that. And so we want to find fault in what we're doing consciously and unconsciously. We sit in this seat of self-judgment. It's the well-worn seat of self-judgment. If it was a chair in your household, I dare say it would have your bottom print sitting in it. It would be shaped like you because you sit in it so often. If that's not you, congratulations. My guess, it probably is. It's been me for a long period of time. It's the place that I dwell. It's not the place I choose to dwell, but I find myself back into. More on that later. The seat of self-compassion. We had family friends, my parents' friends who were English, and they had I went to their house once. They had a lounge room with furniture, beautiful lounges covered in plastic. This was back in the 80s. Giving you my age a little bit. Back in the 80s, it was covered in plastic. And I remember saying, why don't you uncover it? Why is it covered in plastic? And they said, well, where we grew up in England, we always kept an area in case the Queen would visit. Mind-boggling for me here in Australia, but for them, that was the thing. They had this lounge covered in plastic to keep it for the very, very best moment. But they never used it. That's what the seat of self-compassion is for so many of us. We keep it for the best moments. We wonder when we'll get there. Sometimes we even forget that we have it, but we keep it wrapped up in plastic because we wouldn't want to damage it. And we dwell in the seat of self-judgment. Here's the thing. If you can live life, if you can start to become aware of this, you can then start to find what the remedy, the solution, the resolution is to move from one seat to the next. And this is not just for yourself. Let me say it is for yourself, but it is also the way that you view others. Do you judge and criticize, or do you have compassion over other people? Let me show you how this unfolds a little bit and the key things that I think are going to help you. There are three things that I want you to do, or I want you to become aware of. Do's a little harsh, but I want you to become aware of that are going to help you to see this. The first is that word. It's awareness. If you start to become aware of these two seats, that's what this video is for, then you can start to say, well, hold on a sec. How often do I spend in these different places? The second one is a big concept, but it's the place of forgiveness. How do you recognize that you've judged yourself for all of your errors, for all of your failings, for all of your stuff-ups, for all of the moments that you knew you could have done better? And give yourself the gift of forgiveness to say, man, you're not perfect. You'll never be perfect. You'll always be growing towards this place. And so give yourself the gift of saying, you stuffed up, you made a mistake, willingly or unwillingly, whatever. You made the mistake. Give yourself the gift of forgiveness. I can talk to you more about that. That's a big concept. I get it. Most people, it's a very foreign concept. If you want to talk more, reach out after this video. Awareness, forgiveness. The third part is contentment. Recognizing that you are on a journey. You will get things right and wrong. But to be content that you are making an effort. If you're not aware of these things, you can never move. If you don't forgive yourself, you'll keep yourself stuck. But if you remain discontent, always angry and frustrated at yourself, that you're not more compassionate, more lenient, your self-talk isn't better, if you stay in that place of discontent, then that is staying in the place of judgment. So one of the keys to moving into this place of self-compassion and then compassion for others is to recognize the concept of being content, not complacent, not settling and saying this is the best it'll be, but to say, I'm doing a good job, I'm on a journey, I'm moving. This is the journey around from judgment towards compassion. If you do this, if you start to become aware and forgive and content, you'll move. You'll shift. But let me show you, you will find your way back to that well-worn seat of self-criticism and self-judgment because you're so used to it and our culture dictates we should be there. And I think that's a failing of our culture. I won't talk about that right now. But there are subtleties that take us back in that direction. And let me say right now, if you find yourself back in the seat of self-judgment, don't criticize yourself. Don't berate yourself. Just say, hold on, I'm on a journey. Awareness, ding, forgiveness, contentment, seat of self-compassion. Rip the plastic off it and sit on down. The three things that can take you in the wrong direction, and these things are subtle. These things are subtle. Firstly, commentary, cynicism, criticism. These three things will slide us back in no time into the seat of self-judgment. Why? Criticism is the same as judgment, but it starts subtly. We start with commentary, commentating on ourselves, commentating on others, making comment about what other people do or don't do, what they think, how they act. We start to have commentary. You think about this when you're driving on the road and somebody pulls in front of you and you say, what'd you do that for, mate? Why did you pull in there? Why aren't you overtaking me? Why are you so slow? Why are you so fast? Why did you go through the red light? Why this? Why that? We start just this commentary. We're not being critical, but we're starting a commentary. But what happens in our heart, the more commentary we drop out there, we start to become cynical. We start to believe that nobody can get this right. Everybody's flawed except for myself, right? We start to become cynical of humanity. We start to believe the worst in people. Then it's a very short step over to criticism, and then we find ourselves back in the seat of self-judgment or judgment of others. And here's one of the concepts. So I want you to write this down. When we're frustrated with ourselves, it's generally, when we're frustrated with other people, it's generally that we're frustrated with ourselves first and we take it out on everybody else. When we're critical of other people, it's generally that we're critical of ourselves at an unconscious level and we want to push the blame outside, externalize the blame for where we're at. Two different seats, the judgment seat, the compassion seat. There is a way to find yourself to compassion. I'm going to guess, as I've said a few times, that you sit in the well-worn seat of judgment, self-criticism, okay? And you've found your way back into this seat so often. Start to become aware of it. Give yourself some grace. Be content with the journey that you're on. If you need help, sing out to me. That's what I do for chiropractors in the Chiro Mentor and through legacy coaching for people in their businesses, in their relationships, in their families, in their life, is to recognize where are you and how do you shift from the judgment seat to the compassion seat? And then when you slide, how do you shift back? What is the process? If it were easy, everyone would do it. It's not easy. It's one of the concepts that we call simple but hard. When I put it down on the page, it's simple to see but hard to live out. Legacy Coaching and the Chiro Mentor. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to help you make these transitions so that you can start to live this life that is more energized, not as exhausted, not as frustrated and internally conflicted, but you can live with internal peace. If this has been helpful, drop me a comment. If you've got any questions or if this has challenged you, drop me a comment. If you want help to move from the judgment seat to the seat of compassion, either for yourself, which is always first, or for others, which is always second, if you want help, sing out. I have one-on-one coaching. We have things that can help you to do that. So please drop me a line. I'm here to help. This is Jonathan for both the Chiro Mentor and for Legacy Coaching. I hope this has been helpful. Take good care. Bye.